7 months have passed since I published 9 videos on the statutory limit on public debt in June 2024. The URLs are listed right there. These videos were an analysis of the concepts, themes, and phrases in letters the Treasury Secretaries under Obama, Trump, and Biden have been writing to Congress since 2011. The letters can be found at that URL right there. Department of the Treasury. And there's like 110 PDFs on there. Many angles of investigation and analysis could branch off of the videos above. One of the angles is the topic of asset sales. This concept was explained in a couple of the letters in a most childish manner, and I did point that out in U.S. Debt Limit, Poor Beggars, Supplement C, 4 of 8, and U.S. Debt Limit, Poor Beggars, Conclusion 8 of 8. As time marches onward, the fact the Treasury Secretary thought it necessary to write openly explaining to Congress and the American people that our government should not engage in asset sales for the reasons that would be similar to a garage sale or internet sale, and if we sold our assets this month we would not have anything to sell next month, takes on a most ugly mutation and extrapolation. For if a person thinks the matter through, the question has to arise: are Treasury bonds assets? The backing behind the Treasury bonds is the full faith and credit of the USA. Let's see what the internet says. Are Treasury bonds assets? Treasury bonds are considered risk-free assets. Well, that is very interesting. I didn't think there was anything that is risk-free, but I think that quote comes from Investmentpedia. Find asset. Are Treasury bonds a good investment? Treasury bonds are considered risk-free assets, so investments with a low risk tolerance would find these assets suitable. So Treasury bonds are assets. So the Treasury bonds are assets, yet the Treasury Department tells us we should not engage in asset sales. Applying a modicum of propriety would be easy to the situation to gain an understanding, properly spiced with righteous indignation over being slighted as stupid. And there is another force at work, which may be an explanation as to why the situation is going under-recognized. But we'll get to that a little later. First, let's review exactly what the Treasury Secretary has written in their letters about asset sales. First one is Federal asset sales cannot avoid need for increase in debt limit by Mary J. Miller, 5/6/11. They talk about fire sale of financial assets, fire sale of national gold, and we get down here to this penultimate paragraph. The infeasibility of asset sales can be illustrated by an analogy. A family that is struggling to make its monthly mortgage payments could try to sell all of its possessions within a week at a garage sale or on the internet. But of course the family would receive much less than the value of its possessions. And once the next month came, the family would still need to make its mortgage payments, yet all of its possessions would be gone. Huh. Well, I'm sure as adult citizens we all needed to have that economic situation explained to us. Mary J. Miller is Assistant Secretary of the Treasury for financial markets. So this is the United States of America, and she is explaining to us that if we sell something at a garage sale or on the internet, we're not going to get as much as it's worth, and we won't have nothing to sell next month. Wonderful. Okay. Isn't that the most blatant, clear, and insane thing you have heard in a while? The infeasibility of asset sales. In a letter supporting the increasing of the statutory limit on public debt, so more asset sales of Treasury bonds assets can occur. The next one, 12/26, 2012, to the Honorary Harry Reid, Majority Leader of the U.S. Senate, and down here in the appendix, other measures used in the past are no longer available or of limited use. The other measures which have been used in past debt limit impasses in order to postpone the date by which the debt limit needed to be increased or are either not available or of limited use. And we get to asset sales. And here they're basically talking about other assets such as gold and similar considerations argue against fire sales of other public assets, and in any event, asset sales would not generate sufficient revenue to make an appreciable difference in when the debt limit must be raised. Finally, for both legal and practical reasons, sale of the government's portfolio of student loans is not feasible. For these reasons, Secretaries of the Treasury of both parties have concluded that asset sales are not prudent or viable alternative to increasing the debt limit. And why are they going to increase the debt limit? So they can sell more Treasury bonds, which are assets. Completely insane. And this one, March 13, 2015, to the Honorable John A. Boner, Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. And down at the bottom in the appendix, again, other measures used. And basically the same paragraph. For these reasons, Secretaries of the Treasury of both parties have concluded that asset sales are not a prudent or viable alternative to increasing the debt limit. Increasing the debt limit, so Treasury bond asset sales can occur to give us an influx of money. Now, with Treasury bonds, are Federal Reserve notes the only things that can buy Treasury bonds? No. People can buy Treasury bonds with other things, I suppose. So the Federal Reserve is a step down to what is going on here. The fact that they're treating us, talking to us like we're stupid, and then increasing the debt limit so that they can acquire more money through debt and giving away, selling our assets, basically. Lord have mercy, what a stupid situation. Treasury tells us having asset sales is no solution to lessen the impact of having to increase the statutory limit on public debt, so they can sell more assets in the form of Treasury bonds based on the full faith and credit of the USA, land, and things of the USA. So there is a map on the globe, a representation of what it looks like. And that is the asset. That is the land, the people inside of the borders, and the things we have inside. That is what the full faith and credit of the USA is based upon, and every treasury bond debt issued against that is an asset that should be valued and not sold. So now we get to the point where all true patriots have been contemplating what is the source and reason for such abandonment and insanity. And really, from a patriotic standpoint, that is how we view this mishmash mush of words and policy. But a person has to consider that this is not a reckless, rapine, plundering, abandoned situation. That the end result of all of this debt, which is in reality a collateral-based asset sale, backed by the full faith and credit of the USA, is a true tactic of communism and socialism. And we look at the manifesto of the Communist Party. The distinguishing feature of communism is not the abolition of property generally, but the abolition of bourgeoisie property. But modern bourgeoisie private property is the final and most complete expression of the system of producing and appropriating products that is based on class antagonisms, on the exploitation of the many by the few. In this sense, the theory of the communists may be summed up in a single sentence: abolition of private property. So we go back to that map of the United States. We've got the landmass, everything inside the borders. The United States does try to protect each person, give them their own freedom and liberty and respect under law, tries to, and certain amount of property respect, without property tax. Everything's open to investigation. But the whole United States itself is an asset. The full faith and credit is an asset. It is private property of we the people. And to sell it completely out, raise the debt limit, and then to tell us that asset sales are not viable is completely insane. So there it is in a nutshell. Every person who ever worried about communist infiltration and the social dystopian future they bring upon society has been vindicated. We are being sold out. The asset of our full faith and credit is being sold via treasury bonds. All the while the Treasury Department is telling us that asset sales are not viable. We look at Communist Plank number 5, the centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank with state capital and an exclusive monopoly. And this by laissez-faire-republic.com focuses on the Federal Reserve, centralization of credit in the hands of the state, that is the Treasury Department selling out treasury bonds, by means of a national bank, that could sort of be construed to be the Federal Reserve, with state capital. State capital is again represented by that map we showed. Everything inside the borders, the people and the things inside of it, is an asset. State capital is an asset. And of course, the U.S. government has an exclusive monopoly. So we're being sold out in a grand asset sale, and when there's nothing left to sell, like they said, Mary Miller said up here, in feasibility of asset sales, when next month came, the family would still need to make its mortgage payments, yet all of its possessions would be gone. This really isn't a mystery, and anyone who's had their eyes open for the past 60-70 years knows this to be true. So it is hard to believe that they would go to this lengths, but I guess if they are enemies to the way the American Republic was intended to be, and common sense and value-based money, it's really not a surprise. Who would have thought?